Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook, and the temple lit up with bright colors. A booming voice echoed, "Welcome to the trial of the ancients. Only those who prove their worth may proceed." The first challenge began as a series of holographic images appeared around them, displaying various scenarios. They were tested on their knowledge of history, science, and their own experiences as humans. Mia focused intently, answering each question to the best of her ability. She could feel the pressure mounting, but she was determined to prove themselves. As they progressed, the challenges became increasingly difficult. They faced physical tests that required teamwork, agility, and strategy. Mia's heart raced as they leaped over obstacles and dodged moving walls, working together seamlessly. Finally, they'd reached the last challenge, a large chamber filled with mirrors. Each reflection showed a different version of themselves, twisted and distorted. "You must confront your greatest fears," the voice echoed. Mia's reflection morphed into her deepest insecurities, and she gasped. "I can't let this control me," she said firmly. She took a step forward, determined to face her fears head-on. With each challenge, they grew stronger and more united, pushing through their limitations. They fought not just for themselves, but for humanity's honor. The journey through the temple had changed them, making them realize their potential as a team. As they emerged from the final challenge, they stood before the sacred artifact, a glowing crystal that pulsed with energy. "We did it," Jake exclaimed, his voice filled with triumph. Mia felt a sense of victory wash over her. They had proven themselves worthy, and with the sacred artifact in hand, they were ready to face whatever Sealer had in store next. As they left the temple, the atmosphere shifted. The crowd watched with newfound respect, realizing that the humans were no longer the underdogs. They were fierce competitors, ready to take their place among the stars. The tide was turning, and the aliens would soon learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. The overconfident aliens. In the heart of the galaxy, far from Earth, the Galactic Council convened for an important meeting. The chamber was vast, filled with representatives from many different alien races. Each one was unique, with their own strange features and colors. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as the council members settled into their seats. Today, they were going to discuss the rising power of a small planet called Earth. The council's leader, a tall alien with shimmering blue skin named Sealer, called the meeting to order. He cleared his throat and looked at the many faces before him. "Esteemed members of the council, we gather here to discuss the recent events surrounding the planet known as Earth." As Sealer spoke, many aliens whispered to each other. Some rolled their eyes and snickered, while others looked bored. To them, Earth was a minor, insignificant planet. They thought of the humans as weak and unimportant. They believed that humans were not worthy of their attention. "Humans are nothing more than primitive creatures," sneered a small green alien named Jorth. "They barely understand their own technology. How can they be a threat to us?" A murmur of agreement passed through the council. Many aliens nodded, their faces twisted with disdain. They couldn't believe that such a weak species could rise to power. The council members had seen many planets come and go, but Earth was different. The humans were unpredictable, and that made some of them nervous. But among the laughter and jeers, one alien stood up. His name was Xerox, and he belonged to a species known for their great strength and intelligence. "I think we should not underestimate them," Xerox said, his voice steady. "They have shown creativity and resilience in their history. If we challenge them, we might find ourselves surprised." Sealer raised an eyebrow at Xerox's words. "Surprised? By humans?" "That's a laugh." The room erupted in laughter, echoing off the walls of the grand chamber. Many aliens slammed their hands on the tables in amusement. "You are afraid of a species that barely knows how to fly a ship," Jorth shouted, still laughing. "What have they ever done that is worthy of our fear?" Xerox felt the laughter sting. He knew humans had their flaws, but they also had an incredible ability to adapt. He remembered stories of human achievements, like their trips to the moon and their struggles against overwhelming odds. "They are clever," Zarok insisted. "They can think outside the box. Ignoring them might be a grave mistake." The laughter faded slightly, but most aliens were not convinced. They believed that their own strength and technology made them superior. They continued to make jokes and dismiss Zarok's warnings. The council quickly moved on to other matters, still chuckling about the idea of humans being a threat. After the meeting, Sealer gathered a few trusted advisors. He leaned in close and whispered, "I think we should set a challenge for these humans. We need to show them their place in the galaxy. Let's create a game that tests their skills, their strength, and their intelligence." The advisors looked at each other, intrigued by the idea. "What kind of challenge?" one asked. "Something simple but brutal," Sealer replied, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "We can showcase our superiority and make them look foolish in front of the entire galaxy. Let's give them a chance to fail." The advisors nodded, excited by the plan. They began discussing details, thinking of ways to make the challenge more difficult for the humans. They would create a spectacle, an event that would draw attention from across the galaxy. Meanwhile, on Earth, news of the challenge would soon reach the humans. The aliens believed that the humans would back down in fear, realizing they could not compete with advanced races. However, they were wrong. Zarok's words lingered in their minds, but most council members dismissed them as mere fears. As plans were made for the challenge, Sealer felt confident. He was sure the council's laughter would soon be replaced with shouts of victory. The aliens would show the galaxy that they were indeed the strongest race. And Earth, it would be just another name lost in history. Back in the council chamber, Sealer stood before his fellow aliens, his chest puffed out with pride. "We will send a message to Earth," he declared. "A challenge that they cannot refuse. Let us remind them of their place in the universe." With cheers and roars of approval, the council members agreed to send the challenge. They imagined the humans trembling in fear as they realized their fate. They couldn't wait to watch as their laughter echoed through the stars, mocking the pitiful beings on a distant planet. As the meeting adjourned, a dark cloud loomed over the Galactic Council. Zarok felt a sense of unease. He had seen the danger of overconfidence before. But would anyone listen to him? Or would they seal their own fate by underestimating the very species they thought so little of? In the galaxy, there were many stories of downfall due to arrogance. Zarok hoped that this wouldn't be another one. But deep down, he feared for the Council's choices. The truth was, humans were far more than they seemed. And the day of reckoning was closer than anyone expected. The challenge is announced. In the vibrant streets of a bustling city on Earth, news of the Galactic Council's challenge began to spread like wildfire. Humans, known for their curiosity and resilience, were eager to learn more about the mysterious aliens who had issued this bold test. It didn't take long for the media to get involved, and soon the world was buzzing with excitement and anticipation. At the heart of this excitement was a young woman named Mia. She was a student studying intergalactic relations at a university and had always been fascinated by space and the various civilizations that inhabited it. As she flipped through the channels, she stumbled upon a live broadcast of a council member explaining the challenge. The alien appeared tall and imposing, with features that looked both strange and magnificent. Mia leaned closer to the screen, her heart racing. "This is amazing. We have to show them what we're made of," she exclaimed to her roommate, Jake, who was sitting nearby. Jake, munching on a bag of chips, raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious? Did you see how they laughed at us? They think we're a joke." "I know, but that just means we have to prove them wrong," Maya replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. "What if we show them that humans are not to be underestimated?" As the broadcast continued, the alien explained the terms of the challenge. It would consist of 3 parts: a test of strength, a test of intelligence, and a test of teamwork. The aliens believed that each test would demonstrate their superiority over humans, We will host the challenge in a neutral space where everyone can witness our victory, the alien declared with a sinister smile. Maya turned to Jake, her excitement evident. We need to get a team together. If we can prepare ourselves, we can win this challenge. Jake shook his head. Do you really think we can compete with advanced alien technology? They have ships and weapons we can't even imagine. But we have something they don't. Mia insisted. We have our creativity, our determination, and our ability to adapt. If we work together, we can find a way to win. After some back and forth, Jake finally agreed to join Mia in her mission. They gathered a small group of friends, all passionate and ready to face the challenge. As they discussed their plans, Mia emphasized the importance of each member contributing their unique skills. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Galactic Council prepared for the event. They set up elaborate venues for the tests, ensuring everything would showcase their power. Zelar, feeling confident, stood before the council and addressed them. This will be the moment we show the universe that Earth is nothing but a fading memory. As the aliens laughed and celebrated their impending victory, Zerok watched from the sidelines, his expression solemn. He had a feeling that their arrogance would lead to trouble. Despite his warnings, he had been dismissed. Now, he could only hope that the humans would surprise everyone. Back on Earth, Mia and her team began training. They focused on physical strength, brain teasers, and strategies for teamwork. They knew they would have to be at their best to face the aliens. Mia often encouraged her team, reminding them that the key was to believe in themselves and each other. Remember, they think we're weak. Mia shouted during a training session. Let's show them that humans can rise to any challenge. As they practiced late into the night, their determination grew. They created strategies and solved problems together, feeling the bond of teamwork strengthening. The group developed a unique plan for each part of the challenge, using their individual skills to create a well-rounded approach. Finally, the day of the challenge arrived. News channels broadcasted the event worldwide, and millions of viewers tuned in to witness the spectacle. The location chosen was a massive arena filled with advanced alien technology. It was a stark contrast to the human atmosphere, but Mia and her team felt a surge of courage as they entered the arena. As they stood before the crowd, they saw the alien representatives and their smug expressions. Sealer stood in the center, exuding confidence. "Welcome, humans. Are you ready to be humiliated?" He taunted, his voice echoing across the arena. Maya took a deep breath, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. She looked at her team, and they nodded at her. They were ready to face whatever came their way. The first test was about to begin, and they would do everything they could to prove the aliens wrong. With a loud bang, the first test was announced. The arena transformed, revealing a huge obstacle course designed to test strength and agility. Mia's heart raced as she saw towering walls, swinging pendulums, and pits filled with strange alien substances. It looked intimidating, but she felt a spark of hope. "Let's show them what we can do," she shouted, and her team cheered in agreement. The challenge had begun, and they were ready to fight against all odds. As they took their positions, the council members watched closely. Zealer's eyes glinted with amusement as he leaned back, confident that victory was already theirs. But unbeknownst to him, the heart of humanity was about to shine, and the overconfident aliens would soon realize that underestimating humans was a grave mistake. The first test. The arena buzzed with excitement as spectators filled the stands, eager to witness the first test of strength. Mia and her team stood at the starting line, adrenaline coursing through their veins. They looked around at the towering walls and swinging pendulums, the atmosphere heavy with the anticipation of what was to come. Zealar, the alien overseer, stood confidently at the edge of the arena. "Welcome, humans, to the first test of strength. Let us see if you can survive the challenges we have prepared for you." His voice boomed, and a crowd erupted in cheers. Mia could see the gleam of amusement in his eyes, a look that only fueled her determination. Mia glanced at her teammates. Remember our plan. Stick together and encourage each other. We can do this. As the countdown began, the team positioned themselves, ready to face the course. The countdown reached 0, and with a loud horn, they were off. The first obstacle loomed ahead, a massive wall, slick with alien slime. The goal was to climb over it and reach the other side. Mia charged forward, finding her footing. She grabbed onto the textured surface and pulled herself upward, her muscles straining with effort. She reached the top and glanced down to see Jake not far behind. He struggled momentarily but pushed through with Mia's encouragement. "You've got this, Jake. Just a little more." As they reached the top, they could see the cheering crowd, the aliens watching with curiosity. They quickly slid down the other side and raced toward the next obstacle, a series of swinging pendulums. The pendulums swung wildly, threatening to knock anyone off balance. Maya shouted instructions, guiding her teammates through the danger. Wait for the right moment, then run. They timed their movements carefully, dodging and weaving as they navigated through the swinging obstacles. One by one, they made it through, their spirits rising with each successful maneuver. But then disaster struck. As they neared the end of the pendulum section, Sarah, one of the team members, miscalculated her jump and got clipped by a swinging arm. She stumbled backward and fell, hitting the ground hard. The crowd gasped, and Sealer smirked, believing this was the beginning of their failure. Mia rushed to Sarah's side. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Sarah winced but nodded. "I'm fine. Just give me a moment." Mia helped her up, but Sarah felt a twinge in her ankle. They had no time to waste. The next obstacle awaited them. "Come on, we can do this together." Mia encouraged, and they pressed on, adrenaline pushing them forward. The next challenge was a deep pit filled with a thick, gooey substance. They had to jump over it to reach solid ground. Mia led the way, measuring her lead carefully. She cleared the pit, landing safely on the other side. The others followed suit, though Jake struggled a bit, slipping but managing to catch himself just in time. As they continued, Maya noticed the aliens in the stands murmuring among themselves. She could sense the doubt creeping into their expressions. With renewed determination, she pushed her team forward, ready for the final test of the first round. A heavy lifting challenge. In front of them stood a large alien contraption, a massive weight that no human had ever lifted before. The aliens laughed, clearly expecting to see humans fail miserably. "Look at them," one alien remarked, pointing at Mia and her team. "They think they can lift that." Mia felt the weight of their laughter, but refused to back down. "This is it. We have to work together." She quickly organized her teammates, instructing them to form a line. They took deep breaths, focusing on the task ahead. With a countdown from Sealer, they lifted the weight together. At first, it felt impossible, their arms straining under the pressure. But then Maya shouted, "Pull together. 1, 2, 3. With a collective effort, they'd managed to lift the weight a few inches off the ground. The crowd fell silent, watching in disbelief. The alien overseers exchanged worried glances, their confidence starting to wane. Mia's team pressed on, encouraging each other, slowly but surely lifting the weight higher. Suddenly, they felt a surge of strength as they found their rhythm. Together, they managed to hoist the weight above their heads, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Mia's heart swelled with pride as they held it aloft, their faces beaming with triumph. Sealer's expression shifted from amusement to shock. "What is happening?" he exclaimed, disbelief written all over his face. The humans were defying their expectations, showing strength and unity they never thought possible. As they placed the weight back down, breathless and exhilarated, Maya looked at her team, their bond stronger than ever. They had shown the aliens that humans were not to be underestimated. The first test was a success, and the crowd erupted in applause, chanting their names. The Galactic Council may have started with laughter, but now they were silent, pondering the incredible resilience and determination of the humans. Mia knew that they had made a statement, but this was just the beginning. The next tests awaited, and they would need to dig even deeper to prove their worth. With renewed spirit, Mia and her team looked at each other, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They would show the galaxy the true strength of humanity, and they would not back down. The first test was just the first step in a journey that would change everything. The rising tensions. After their surprising success in the first test, Mia and her team felt a rush of confidence. They celebrated with high fives and laughter, their spirits soaring. But deep down, they knew that this was only the beginning. They were far from winning over the entire Galactic Council. As they left the arena, they could still hear the murmurs of disbelief from the crowd. Many aliens were not convinced the humans could compete in the challenges ahead. Sealer, who had been confident earlier, now looked anxious. He paced back and forth, clearly worried about the upcoming tests. Once outside, Mia gathered her teammates. "We did great, but we can't let our guard down. The next tests will be harder, and they'll be watching us closely." Jake nodded, looking serious. "What do you think they'll throw at us next? We barely made it through the first one." "I'm not sure," Mia admitted, "but we need to stay focused. We've proven we can work together, but we have to stay strong and keep pushing forward." As they walked through the corridors of the arena, they overheard whispers from some alien spectators. "Humans are just lucky," one alien scoffed. "They won't last long in the next rounds." Another alien chimed in. "They're just making fools of themselves. The next test will crush them." The dismissive comments stung, but Mia tried to shake them off. They had already proved the aliens wrong once, and she was determined to do it again. In the following days, the atmosphere grew tense as the team prepared for the second round of tests. The arena transformed, with each test more complicated and challenging than the last. Maya studied the obstacles ahead, forming strategies with her teammates. On the day of the next test, Mia could feel the weight of the moment. The stands were filled with spectators, and she could see Sealer at the front, arms crossed, looking skeptical. "Let the second test of strength begin," he announced, his voice echoing through the arena. The first challenge was a mental test, requiring them to solve complex puzzles while running through a maze filled with traps. Mia's heart raced as they entered the maze, the walls looming ominously around them. They had to work together to solve each puzzle quickly to avoid the traps. As they ran, they faced riddle after riddle. At first, they stumbled, but slowly they found their rhythm. "This one is about teamwork," Mia exclaimed, pointing to the answer that involved their past challenges. "We can't forget what we learned." The crowd gasped as they quickly answered one puzzle after another. The cheers began to rise, and Maya felt the tide turning. However, as they reached the final riddle, they found themselves in a tight spot. The answer seemed elusive. Frustration grew among her teammates. "We'll never get out of here," one shouted, panic creeping into her voice. "Calm down," Mia urged, trying to keep the focus. "Think about our strengths. We are humans, and we adapt. We need to work together." Drawing on her own strength, she started to recall the teamwork they had practiced. With renewed determination, they brainstormed ideas together. Suddenly, Jake shouted, "What if it's about our differences? We have to combine our skills." With a spark of inspiration, they quickly formed a plan, blending their strengths to solve the final riddle. The answer clicked in Mia's mind, and they shouted it out together, their voices ringing with unity. The moment they solved the puzzle, the maze walls began to dissolve, and they burst into the open arena, panting but exhilarated. The crowd erupted in cheers, their doubts fading into awe. Even some aliens clapped, realizing the humans were far from helpless. But Sailor's face remained grim. "This is not over yet," he thought. He stepped forward, prepared to present the next challenge. The next test involved physical endurance, a grueling obstacle course that included climbing, crawling, and running over treacherous terrain. Mia could see the intensity in the eyes of her teammates. They were exhausted but driven. As they began, the obstacles seemed endless. They crawled through muddy trenches, climbed over steep walls, and leaped across dangerous gaps. Each team member struggled, but they pushed through, helping each other at every turn. "Keep going," Mia shouted, encouraging Sarah, who was lagging behind. "We're almost there." With each obstacle they conquered, the audience began to cheer louder. Aliens started to look impressed, their attitudes shifting. But Mia could also see Sealer's frustration growing. The more the human succeeded, the more he seemed to lose control. Finally, they approached the last challenge, a steep hill that seemed impossible to climb. The crowd fell silent, waiting to see if they would fail. Mia looked at her team. "This is it. Together, we can make it." They nodded, determination shining in their eyes. As they began the ascent, their legs burned with effort. They helped each other up, sharing words of encouragement. Slowly but surely, they reached the top, collapsing together in a heap, breathless and victorious. The crowd erupted into wild applause, the sound overwhelming. Maya felt a rush of pride as they raised their arms in triumph. They had shown the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. But Sealer's eyes burned with anger. This wasn't what he had planned. He couldn't allow these humans to gain such momentum. As the cheers continued, he plotted his next move, determined to turn the tide against them. Unbeknownst to Mia and her team, the challenge was only beginning. The aliens were starting to see humanity's strength, but Sealer was determined to prove them wrong. As they celebrated their victories, they remained unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. The unforeseen betrayal. After their stunning performance in the second round, Mia and her team felt a wave of excitement wash over them. They had successfully navigated the physical and mental challenges, proving their worth to the spectators. The crowd's cheers still echoed in their ears as they left the arena, feeling proud and accomplished. However, as they walked through the corridors, Maya sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The previously cheering aliens now exchanged nervous glances and whispers, casting skeptical looks toward the humans. It was clear that not everyone was thrilled by their success. "Did you see how some of them looked at us?" Jake murmured, his brow furrowed. "They don't want us to win." Mia nodded, her heart heavy with worry. "We need to stay focused. We can't let their doubts get to us." As they prepared for the third round of tests, tension hung thick in the air. The next challenge was supposed to be a test of strategic thinking. It would involve solving complex scenarios that required teamwork and quick decision-making. Mia was determined to stay strong and lead her team through it. On the day of the test, the arena buzzed with anticipation. Mia felt the eyes of the crowd on her, but this time it was different. There was a sense of animosity among some of the aliens, and she could see Sealer lurking in the shadows, watching intently. He appeared even more agitated than before. "Welcome to the third test of strategy," Sealer announced, his voice dripping with disdain. "Today, the humans will face scenarios that will truly test their abilities." As the scenarios began, Mia and her team quickly realized that they were more difficult than anything they had faced before. Each scenario was designed to create conflict among them, forcing them to make difficult choices that could either help or hinder their progress. In the first scenario, they had to choose between saving a group of captured allies or seizing valuable resources. The pressure mounted as the clock ticked down, and the group found themselves divided. "I say we go for the resources. We can come back for the allies later," shouted Sam, his face tense with urgency. "No," Mia interjected firmly. "We can't abandon our allies. We must save them first. They're counting on us." The debate grew heated, with voices clashing as they struggled to agree on a plan. Just as they reached a stalemate, Sailor's voice echoed from the stands. It seems the humans are already falling apart. How will they ever hope to win? The crowd's murmur grew louder, and Maya felt the weight of their judgment. With her heart pounding, she knew they had to decide quickly. We can find a way to save both, she insisted. We just need to think creatively. As time slipped away, they quickly formulated a plan that would allow them to rescue their allies while also gathering some resources. To their surprise, the plan worked, and they completed the scenario with mere seconds to spare. The crowd erupted in cheers, and even Sailor seemed taken aback. But the victory was short-lived. As they progressed through the next scenarios, the challenges became increasingly complex and divisive. Sailor continued to throw unexpected twists at them, clearly intent on making them fail. In one scenario, Mia had to choose whether to sacrifice a teammate to save the rest. "This isn't fair," Sarah shouted, her eyes wide with panic. "I can't just let someone die." Mia felt her heart break at the thought of losing anyone. "We can't let fear tear us apart. We have to trust each other." The group rallied together, using their unique skills and strengths to navigate the challenges. They found creative solutions, relying on each other in ways they never imagined. As they tackled each scenario, the audience's reaction shifted. There were cheers and applause, but also murmurs of disbelief. "Are they actually winning?" one alien whispered incredulously. However, Sailor's frustration boiled over. He could not allow the humans to gain any more ground. As the final scenario approached, he knew he had to take drastic measures. Mia and her team entered the last challenge, which involved a simulated battle against a formidable enemy. They had to coordinate their efforts to defeat the enemy without losing any teammates. The stakes were high, and Maya felt the weight of the moment. Just as they began, Maya noticed something strange. The simulation was glitching, with the enemy appearing stronger than it should have been. "What's happening?" she called out, panic creeping into her voice. Jake was at the controls, trying to fix the problem. "I don't know. It's like someone is messing with the program." Realization hit Mia like a thunderbolt. Sailor is doing this. He's sabotaging us. As the enemy swarmed, Maya fought to stay focused. "We can't give up. We have to work together." Just then, an alien from the crowd shouted, "Look at them. They can't handle the pressure." Laughter erupted, and Mia's heart sank. But instead of despair, Mia felt a fire ignite within her. "This is our moment," she shouted, rallying her teammates. "We've come too far to give up now. We can't let them see us fail." With renewed determination, they focused on their training and instincts. They coordinated their movements, covering each other's weaknesses. Slowly, they started to push back against the simulation, and the tide began to turn. The cheers from the crowd grew louder as they fought against the odds. Despite Sailor's sabotage, the humans were rising to the challenge, and the aliens couldn't ignore it any longer. But Sailor, furious at the turn of events, was determined to put an end to their victory. He secretly activated a final trap, one that would test them in the most brutal way imaginable. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine their fate in the Galactic Council. As the humans battled through the chaos, they had no idea that the real test was yet to come. Unbeknownst to them, Sailor was prepared to unleash his final, unforgiving challenge. And with it, everything they had fought for was on the line. "You said, the final challenge." As the sounds of battle echoed through the arena, Mia and her team fought against the overwhelming odds. They had overcome the glitches and traps set by Sailor, and the crowd watched in awe as the humans displayed courage and ingenuity. But the true test was just beginning. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunging the arena into darkness. A hush fell over the crowd, and Mia's heart raced. She could sense something was coming, something sinister. The lights flickered back on, revealing a massive wall that had descended around the arena. It closed them off from the rest of the Galactic Council, creating an isolated battleground. A booming voice filled the arena, echoing ominously. "Welcome to the final challenge," Sealer announced, a twisted grin on his face. "Here you will face the ultimate test of survival. Only one team will emerge victorious. The rest will be eliminated from the games." Mia's heart sank. The stakes had never been higher. "What does he mean by eliminated?" she whispered to Jake, her voice trembling. "I don't know, but we have to be ready for anything," Jake replied, his brow furrowed in concern. As the wall sealed them inside, a loud rumble shook the ground, and a series of robotic opponents emerged from hidden compartments. Each one was equipped with advanced weaponry and displayed astonishing agility. Mia's breath hitched as she realized the gravity of their situation. "We have to stay together. We can't let them divide us," she shouted, rallying her team. The first wave of robots charged forward, and Maya felt a surge of adrenaline. They had trained for combat, but nothing could prepare them for the relentless onslaught they now faced. "Form a line. Protect each other," she commanded. As they fought bravely, the robots proved to be tougher than expected. Each time they struck one down, two more seemed to take its place. The team was pushed to its limits, but they fought on, using their skills to outmaneuver the mechanical foes. "Watch your flanks," Sarah yelled, dodging a laser blast that singed the air beside her. Just as they started to gain ground, the second wave of robots entered the arena, even more formidable than the first. The crowd roared, but it wasn't out of support. They were hungry for blood. "This is not good," Mia muttered, her heart racing as she realized they could not hold out much longer. "We need to find a way to disable them." "Look," Jake pointed to a control panel on the far side of the arena. "If we can get to that, we might be able to shut them down." Without hesitation, Mia made the decision. "We need to split up. Jake, Sarah, and I will go for the control panel. The rest of you hold off the robots as best as you can." The team nodded, determination shining in their eyes. They quickly moved into action, Mia leading Jake and Sarah toward the control panel while the others engaged the robots. As they ran, lasers whizzed past them, and Mia ducked just in time to avoid a shot aimed at her head. "We can't let fear stop us," she shouted, urging her teammates forward. When they reached the panel, Mia worked quickly, her fingers dancing over the controls. "I need time. Cover me," she yelled. Jake and Sarah turned to face the incoming robots, fighting desperately. Mia could feel the pressure mounting as she focused on the blinking lights and buttons. The sounds of battle echoed around her, but all she could think about was the need to save her team. Come on," she urged herself, heart pounding. Just as she began to make progress, a powerful robot lunged at her, knocking her to the ground. "Mia!" Jake yelled, but she scrambled back to her feet, adrenaline coursing through her veins. With renewed focus, she continued working the panel. Sweat dripped from her brow as she managed to deactivate several robots, but there were still many left standing. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, and Seller's voice echoed through the arena. "You humans are amusing, but it's time to end this. Prepare for the final assault." Mia's heart sank as she heard the clanking of heavy metal. A colossal robot emerged, towering over everything, its eyes glowing ominously. It was designed specifically to eliminate them, a true nightmare brought to life. "This is bad," Sarah whispered, fear evident in her eyes. "What do we do now?" Mia glanced at her teammates, determination blazing in her chest. "We fight. We can't give up now." As the giant robot approached, Mia and her friends strategized quickly. "We need to distract it while I finish shutting down the remaining bots," she shouted. Jake nodded, adrenaline coursing through him. "Let's do this." With a fierce battle cry, they charged at the colossal robot. It swung its massive arm, but Mia ducked just in time, her heart racing. The team worked together, using everything they had learned to evade the giant's attacks. Mia could see the control panel in her peripheral vision, and she knew she had to finish her task. While Jake and Sarah distracted the robot, she sprinted back to the panel, fingers flying over the buttons. As the battle raged on, Maya felt a surge of hope. "I'm almost there," she shouted, glancing back to see Jake and Sarah battling fiercely against the giant robot. They were fighting with everything they had, and Mia knew they couldn't fail. With one final push, she pressed a sequence of buttons, and the control panel lit up. Yes, she cheered as the remaining robots began to power down, falling lifeless to the ground. But the giant robot continued its relentless assault, and Maya realized it was now or never. "I'm coming," she yelled, joining her teammates in the fight. As they coordinated their efforts, they launched an all-out assault on the massive robot. With every strike, they fought not just for their survival, but for their dignity as humans in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they managed to land a critical blow. The giant robot staggered, sparks flying from its chassis. "We can do this," Maya shouted, her voice filled with determination. With one last coordinated attack, they struck the robot down, and it collapsed with a deafening crash. The arena fell silent as the crowd watched in shock, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and admiration. As Mia and her teammates stood victorious, catching their breath, they knew they had proven themselves against the impossible. But they also understood that Sealer was far from done. They had survived this round, but the war for their place in the galaxy was just beginning. The turning point. The arena was silent, but the air buzzed with tension. Mia and her team stood amidst the fallen debris of the giant robot, breathing heavily. The crowd, initially filled with jeers and mockery, now stared in stunned silence, unable to process what had just unfolded. Sealer's voice boomed over the intercom, tinged with irritation. "Impressive, humans, but this is only the beginning. You've shown bravery, but can you endure what's next?" Mia exchanged worried glances with Jake and Sarah. They had fought hard, but what more could Sealer have in store for them? The reality of their situation weighed heavily on her heart. As the lights dimmed again, a series of holographic displays lit up around the arena, revealing the faces of different alien species from across the galaxy. Each one looked down upon the humans, their expressions a mix of disdain and curiosity. One of the holograms, a tall alien with bright blue skin and piercing yellow eyes, spoke. "These humans have defied the odds. They have defeated our finest creations, but they are still inferior beings. It is time we put them to the ultimate test." The crowd erupted in murmurs. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. She could sense the malice behind those words, and she knew they had to prepare for the worst. Sealer continued, "You will face the trial of the ancients. If you succeed, you may earn your place among us. But should you fail, you will be banished from the galaxy forever." The crowd roared, a mix of cheers and jeers. Maya took a deep breath. "We can't back down now," she said firmly. "We've come too far to give up." Jake nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "We'll show them what humans can do." Sarah, ever the strategist, spoke up. "We need to figure out what the trial of the ancients is. We can't face it blindly." As the lights brightened again, a vast map of the galaxy appeared, showcasing various planets and locations. "The trial will take place on the planet Krelith," Sealer announced. "You must retrieve the sacred artifact from the Temple of Trials. Only then will you prove your worth." Mia felt a mix of excitement and fear. "We need to prepare," she said, her voice steady. "We can't let them intimidate us. This is our chance to show them what we're made of." The crowd began to disperse as the arena shifted, preparing for the next stage. Mia and her team were escorted to a private chamber, a stark contrast to the chaotic arena. Here, they could regroup and plan. Once inside, Mia paced back and forth. "The Temple of Trials. We need to gather as much information as possible. There must be ancient texts or recordings that can tell us about the challenges we'll face." Jake nodded, pulling out a small device. "Let me see if I can access their database. There might be something about Krelith and the trials." As Jake worked, Mia and Sarah discussed strategies. "We need to rely on our strengths," Sarah emphasized. "We can't let fear cloud our judgment." Minutes later, Jake's eyes lit up. "I found something. The temple is filled with illusions and puzzles meant to test not just our strength, but our minds as well." Mia felt a wave of relief. "Then we need to be ready for anything. This isn't just a physical challenge, it's mental too." With renewed focus, they prepared for the journey to Kreleth. The fear of the unknown loomed over them, but they were determined to face whatever awaited them. As they boarded their shuttle, Mia felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. She could sense the eyes of the crowd watching them, waiting to see if the humans would rise or fall. They were not just fighting for themselves anymore. They were fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. Upon arriving on Kreleth, the landscape was breathtaking, with towering cliffs and lush greenery. However, the beauty of the planet was overshadowed by the ominous presence of the Temple of Trials looming in the distance. "Stick together," Mia instructed as they approached the temple, its massive doors etched with ancient symbols. The air felt thick with anticipation, and the atmosphere was charged with energy. As they entered, the doors slammed shut behind them, sealing them in darkness. Maya felt her heart race, but she steadied herself. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. The temple was vast, filled with intricate carvings and glowing crystals. The walls seemed to pulse with a life of their own, and Maya felt a shiver run down her spine.